Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Christopher van der Made. I'm a developer advocate security at Cisco. What I'm going to show you today is a super simple workflow in SecureX orchestrator that basically ties together threat response, Webex Teams, and it's basically an example of what you can do with the tools and how you can combine them. So right here we have our SecureX dashboard, and what I've done is I've launched threat response right over here. And as you can see, I've done a investigation to internetbadguys.com, which is an example domain. And I actually have a target. Now, as you can see, I can click on the malicious domain, internetbadguys.com, and a load of response actions basically unfold, as you can see. There are also SecureX orchestration workflows that are already coming out here. And what I'm going to show you today is basically how to add an extra option here, which sends the sends the observable that you select to Webex Teams. Now, obviously, this is a complete useless integration, but I just want to show you how it works and how you can tie together multiple things. Now, here we have the SecureX orchestration instance. And what I've done already is I created basically a super simple workflow. All I've done is used the Webex Teams post to rooms atomic action, which is already there. And I've basically added a room ID that I use for testing. I've added that here as input. I've added a markdown message saying, hey, you cool cats and kittens, you've clicked on this observable of this observable type. And which is very important is that you have the access token configured as a variable. So we're going to do that right now. So there's a couple of variables that I have defined outside of the atomic action. So these are basically in the workflow properties, which you have over here. Now what I've done is I've added two variables of the type string with a scope of input without any value, and they're called observable type and observable value. Now what you'll see is that when you select an observable here, the value and the type will be filled in from threat response. I also have a secure string of scope local, which is called Webex API key, which I'm actually referencing right over here as an access token. Now to get this token, you need to log into developer.webex.com and log in with your Webex account. Click on documentation and getting started, and then basically copying your bearer token. Now this is just for testing. Obviously, if you want to create a bot, that is possible, and that will have a token which doesn't have a lifespan of 12 hours but longer, so that you don't have to refresh it that often. Now this token I'm going to fill in here as value. As you can see, I'm going to save it. And last but not least, as you can see, it still doesn't populate here. Now what happens is that when I click this drop-down button, the response API from threat response is live queried, and it will show you all the possible response actions for that observable. Now in order to have your workflow show up there, you need to do a couple of things. You need to add these two variable types, as I mentioned. So of type string, scope input, and call them observable type and observable value. But what you also need to do is to give it a category of response. This response category will be automatically bootstrapped when your orchestrator is initiated when you start your SecureX account. Now I've just done this, and as you can see, there's a description and a display name right over here. And that will now actually show up, as you can see right over here, and the description actually also shows. Now, if I were to click this button, you can see that my workflow was actually initiated. And if I were to go to Webex Teams, you can now see that I literally just now, it's the same time as you can see here, send, hey all you cool cats and kittens, you've clicked on this observable, and it has an observable type of domain. I can do that as well with an IP address, just to show you as proof. And as you can see, it now live populates here as well. Again, this is a completely useless integration. I think it's still pretty funny, but it shows you how you can basically add other workflows to this response actions, and how you can tie together the orchestrator together with threat response, and also how to work with the Webex Teams API and the Webex Teams atomic action. Now basically the ball is in your court. I've shown you how you can do it. Obviously there are a lot of interesting helpful integrations and workflows that you can think of. So the ball's in your court. I would say good luck. Feel free to ping me if you have any questions, and enjoy. Thank you for listening.